Welcome to Supernatural Japan, the show where we dive deep into the legends, mysteries, and cultural phenomena of Japan. I'm your host, Kevin O'Shea. Today's episode explores one of the most influential Japanese stories of our era, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's an anime that merges supernatural horror, Japanese folklore, family tragedy, and breathtaking action, all wrapped in a world bursting with historical detail. We'll explore its origins, story evolution, characters, mythological foundations, and the massive cultural footprint it has left in Japan and around the world, especially during the global rise of anime and manga throughout the COVID lockdowns. Let's begin. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, began as a manga created by Koyoharu Kotage, a relatively unknown artist at the time. It debuted in the Weekly Shonen Jump in February 2016, one of Japan's most competitive manga magazines, home to giants like One Piece, Naruto, and Dragon Ball. Now, Kotage had cited several sources of inspiration for his stories. First of all, Japanese Oni folklore. Oni are horned demons from traditional Japanese mythology. They symbolize chaos, misfortune, and the darker sides of human nature. In folklore, Oni often plague villages or attack travelers, mirroring the demonic threats in Demon Slayer. Taishō-era Japan, which was from 1912 to 1926. This series is set in this transitional era, where Japan balanced tradition and modernity. Western clothing mixed with kimono, electric lights appeared in old wooden towns, and new technology, like the train, featured in the Mugen Train arc, was reshaping daily life. Demon Slayer uses this era to emphasize both nostalgia and the looming societal change. Samurai and swordsmanship traditions were also an inspiration. The breathing styles used in the Demon Slayer core echo classical martial arts disciplines, where breath control and mental focus were central to sword fighting. And then there are the tragic ghost stories and yokai legends. Many demons have heartbreaking backstories, reflecting how Japanese ghost stories often portray spirits as victims of human cruelty, poverty, and misfortune. The manga started slowly. It wasn't initially a runaway hit. But everything changed in 2019 when Ufotable or Ufotable Studios released the anime adaptation. Their incredible visual effects, dynamic fights, emotional pacing, and signature flame, water, and lightning animations transformed the series into a massive global phenomenon. Now, let's take a look at the story's original premise. At its heart, Demon Slayer begins with a raw, devastating tragedy. Tanjiro Kamado, a gentle and hardworking boy from a mountain village, returns home one snowy morning to find his entire family slaughtered by demons. His sister, Nezuko, survives, but has been turned into a demon. Instead of giving into bloodlust, Nezuko shows signs of retaining her humanity, and this sets up the emotional core of the story. Can a demon be redeemed? And can Tanjiro save what remains of his family? So what are his core objectives? Well, to find a cure for Nezuko's demon transformation, to avenge the deaths of his family members, and to destroy Muzan Kibutsuji, the first demon and the architect of all demon-related suffering. The premise is simple, yet extremely powerful, anchored in grief, hope, and the desperate bond between siblings. So let's take a look at the different characters. Tanjiro Kamado, Tanjiro begins as compassionate, but inexperienced. And over time, he evolves into a skilled swordsman driven by empathy, often offering prayers for the demons he defeats. His moral compass and emotional sensitivity define the tone of the story. There's Nezuko Kamado. Nezuko's evolution is a central mystery. She retains her humanity, refuses to consume human flesh, and develops unique demon powers, including sunlight resistance, an ability that deeply changes the series' trajectory and Muzan's motivations. Then there's Zenitsu Agatsuma, a cowardly boy with shocking potential. Over time, Zenitsu shifts from comic relief to a symbol of quiet determination. His thunderclap and flash technique becomes one of the series' most iconic moves. Inosuke Hashibira, raised in the wild, wearing a boar's head, Inosuke's arc revolves around discovering empathy and trust. He evolves from pure instinct to loyal, emotionally aware companion. Then there are the Hashira, the elite demon slayers, each with deeply personal motivations. Kyojuro Rengaku, the flame Hashira, embodies honor and duty. Gyu Tomioka, the water Hashira, struggles with survivor's guilt. Mitsuri Kanoroji, the love Hashira, highlights the emotional strength beneath her bright persona. And Tengen Uzui, the sound Hashira, showcases flamboyance paired with deep loyalty. Each Hashira brings a unique emotional texture that expands the world's depth. And then there is Muzan Kibutsuji, the main antagonist. Muzan is calculating, cruel, and obsessed with immortality. As Tanjiro grows stronger, Muzan's paranoia increases, shifting the series into a desperate, escalating war. His character is rooted in classical depictions of demons, seductive, powerful, and deeply self-centered. And wow, I have to admit, guys, although I spent many years living in Japan and my spouse is Japanese and Japanese is used in my household every day, it's not easy saying all of those Japanese names, but I'm doing the best I can, so bear with me. So now, how does the story evolve? Well, let's take a look at the early arc, the foundations and the world building. Tanjiro trains under Water Hashira Orokodaki, and we learn how the Demon Slayer Corps operates, how breathing techniques work, and the hierarchical threat of demons. And the arc sets up a moral tension between demons as monsters and demons as victims. Now, once we get to the mid-series, the Upper Moons, this phase introduces the elite demons directly under Muzan. These arcs become darker, more violent, and more emotionally devastating. Tanjiro and his companions start encountering demons whose backstories mirror tragedy, childhood trauma, and societal neglect. The Entertainment District and Swordsmith Village arcs. These showcase some of the most intense battles in modern anime. The themes broaden. They look at the cost of power, the fragility of human life, the emotional toll on the Hashira, and the increasing urgency of the Demon Slayer Corps' mission. Ufotaburu's animation reaches new heights here, turning this era into some of the most iconic television animation ever produced. And then there are the final arcs, the war against Muzan. The tone shifts from intimate tragedy to epic confrontation, and the story becomes a battle for humanity's survival with major sacrifices, revelations, and resolutions that tie back to the first chapter. Now, what kind of cultural impact has Kimetsu no Yaiba had on Japan? Well, Demon Slayer reshaped Japanese pop culture in unprecedented ways. There was a massive mainstream influence. Music charts topped by Lisa's Good NG. Now, convenience stores and supermarkets were stuffed with Demon Slayer products, and this was something that we would see every time we would visit Japan. At the time, we were working outside of Japan, but we would visit multiple times a year, and my 2 children, would pick up lots of Demon Slayer merchandise, and the money would also fly out of my wallet. Traditional craftsmen recreating swords, howdy patterns, and charms were busier than ever before, and kids performing breathing styles on playgrounds. Now, of course, locations inspired by the Demon Slayer setting, like Taishō-era towns and mountains, saw huge visitor increases, and cities and prefectures used Demon Slayer characters in tourism campaigns. Also, this was a symbol of resilience during the pandemic. During 2020 and 2021, as Japan dealt with restrictions, Demon Slayer became a comfort show, uplifting, emotional, and inspirational. There was the Mugen Train phenomena. The 2020 film Demon Slayer Mugen Train became the highest grossing film in Japan's history. It was a symbol of communal healing during the pandemic, and it was proof that anime movies could dominate box offices worldwide. And its success shook the entertainment industry in Japan. Now, of course, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba had a global impact. And of course, this also involved or was part in case due to the Kova-era anime boom. Now, Demon Slayer arrived at the perfect time in global media history. First of all, we had the rise of streaming. Platforms like Netflix, Crunchyroll, and Amazon Prime had already begun expanding their anime catalogs and collections. And then the world went into lockdown. Millions of people around the world were trapped at home. TV, streaming, and online entertainment exploded, and people worldwide looked for an emotional escape. And this sparked a global surge in anime consumption, unlike anything ever seen before. Anime was seen as a comfort medium. Now, Demon Slayer, with its emotional storytelling and high-quality animation, drew in viewers who had never watched anime before. And there were record-breaking global trends. Manga became the fastest-growing publishing category in the US during the pandemic. Anime on TikTok skyrocketed, and Western celebrities, from athletes to actors, openly embraced anime culture. Anime merchandise, clothing, and collectibles became mainstream fashion. These were things that were once considered extremely niche, geeky otaku, but now people from around the world were buying in big time. Now, why did Demon Slayer stand out so much from other stories? Well, first of all, it was very accessible. It had high emotional stakes. It looked great. The animation was gorgeous. There were relatable themes of loss, resilience, and family, and there were weekly episodes that brought global viewers together. It became a gateway anime of sorts for millions of new fans, just as Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, or Attack on Titan had done in previous decades. Now, there was also an incredible increase in the soft power and Japan's global influence. Demon Slayer also boosted global interest in Japanese culture. That is absolutely the case. People have always been interested in Japanese culture. Obviously, you who are listening to Supernatural Japan are interested in Japanese culture to an extent, I assume, but more so now than ever, this interest really took off. Taishō-era aesthetics. People became much more fascinated with that. Traditional clothing, kimono patterns, and swordsmith lore. And there's the travel interest in Japan. There has been an absolute massive tourist boom in Japan since COVID. There have been many factors to that, including the low yen, the Japanese yen. People who maybe in the past would not have been able to access Japan because it was so expensive now could afford to. But really, anime and manga pushed this interest. And there is a growing interest in understanding of Japanese folklore and Oni mythology. And maybe for a lot of you who are listening to Supernatural Japan and all the wonderful, amazing episodes I have in the back catalog, you're interested in that too. And if you're new to this podcast and to Japanese folklore and mythology, go check out our back catalog. It's extensive, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. Now, Kimetsu no Yaiba helped fuel the worldwide renaissance of Japanese pop culture. Absolutely. So as I record this episode, the latest Demon Slayer film is in movie theaters right now. And the series has pioneered a hybrid TV/theatrical release model where upcoming season content premieres in cinemas. The most recent film, and that's right now, continues this trend, serving as both a cinematic event and a teaser for the next arc. These films perform consistently well internationally, showing that anime movies are no longer niche but blockbuster events. Now, at the time that I'm recording this episode, the new movie is currently playing here in China, where I am based at the moment. And every weekend I see Demon Slayer cosplayers hanging around at the shopping mall where the theaters are. And some of them have fantastic costumes. Now, there is presently a simmering, maybe even bubbling and boiling, diplomatic spat between China and Japan. But that's at a government level. When you walk through shopping malls in China, you see Japanese anime characters and merchandise absolutely everywhere. Regular people love it and can't get enough. That's absolutely true. The youth in China have fallen in love with Kimetsu no Yaiba, just like everyone else around the world. Demon Slayer is far more than a popular anime. It is a cultural lightning bolt. It embodies classical Japanese folklore, emotional storytelling, Taishō-era aesthetics, breathtaking animation, and universal themes of grief, courage, and compassion. It helped fuel the global rise of anime during a time when people desperately needed escape, comfort, and connection. And it cemented its place as one of Japan's most powerful cultural exports. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and explore our other episodes of Supernatural Japan. That's right, if you're listening to us on Spotify, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever it may be, please subscribe. That is super important. Now, you've been listening to Supernatural Japan, and again, I hope you have enjoyed it. To see photos and images of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the different characters, the settings, what Taishō-era aesthetics look like, please follow the podcast on Instagram at Supernatural Japan. The link is in the show notes. We also have a Facebook group where I share photos and videos as well. There will be a link in the show notes. Myself, Kevin O'Shea, your host, I'm on Blue Sky and X at Mad for Maple, where I post lots of things all the time. Things about spooky stuff, life as an expat, in China, in Japan, food, travels, you name it, it's all there. Follow me in those places as well. You can email Supernatural Japan anytime you'd like at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. If you have any ideas or stories or weird, spooky experiences in Japan, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to know more about the podcast, you can shoot me an email. If you would ever like me to stop by your podcast and talk about Japanese folklore, historical spooky culture, I'd be happy to. So shoot me an email. Now, speaking of emails, I got an email from Tom, a listener in California, and he said to me, here's a ghost story from my town. And he said, I've traveled this road thousands of times, but I never saw the White Witch. There are so many variations of this story, and us locals like to embellish it to out-of-town folks. So the story goes like this. It is the Niles Canyon Ghost, and it's an urban legend within the vanishing hitchhiker archetype about the ghost of a girl who died in a car accident. The accident is said to have taken place on February 28th, and the year varying. Every year, the ghost is said to walk the road. So on the anniversary of that supposed accident, looking to hitch a ride to San Francisco. One variation of the story has the hiker's backstory being that she died in a car crash on the Niles Canyon Road on the way back from a dance. And some say that she could be seen at midnight waiting at the corner where she died. And people traveling along the road, mostly those traveling alone, are said to have stopped and offered the girl a ride. She accepts the ride, giving the driver an address across the bridge. Once the driver reaches the beginning of the bridge, the girl disappears. And the stories told of a ghost, a driver who visits the girl's address, is told by the girl's mother that the girl died many years previously. There's another version of the story that has the ghost described as a white lady killed in a carriage accident 100 years previously. So that's a really interesting story. And, Tom has not seen the white lady. I suppose that's a good thing for him. Now, interestingly, Tom then asked, he said, so I was wondering, does Japan have a hitchhiking ghost? And the information I just read, he had copied and pasted that and shared it with me from Wikipedia. So, I'd asked my wife, do people hitchhike? Did people traditionally hitchhike in the past in Japan? Because I know that it has kind of fallen, obviously, out of fashion, I should say, in North America. Something popular in the 50s, the era of Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, the 50s, the 60s, going into 70s and 80s. I can remember as a kid growing up in Eastern Canada seeing people hitchhiking. But my wife does tell me that people used to do it more in Japan in the past, but because of the dangers associated with hitchhiking, it's far less common now. And she said that her own father, my father-in-law, when he was younger, a young man, was a backpacker, and he himself has told her tales of his hitchhiking and his hitchhiking adventures as a youth. So it's something that people did. Now, I personally don't know any phantom hitchhiker stories based in Japan, but I'd like to find out, maybe do some research. I know that in Philip Jackson's books, Paranormal Kansai and Paranormal Japan, there are definitely some tales of white women on the sides of roads and haunted tunnels in different places. Something that kind of reminds me of this kind of hitchhiker lore would be from episode 1 of the Supernatural Japan podcast, the Shinichi department store fires, and which were set in Osaka, and of course episode 44, Ghosts of the Tsunami. There are many tales in Japan of taxi drivers picking up phantom customers, and this sounds very familiar or similar to some aspects of that Niles Canyon ghost. They see someone hailing a cab, often a woman, maybe wearing a kimono. In the case of the Shinichi department store fires, the person gets in the cab, gives directions where they want to go, and then the person vanishes. The driver turns around or looks in the mirror, and the person's gone. Now, some assume that these are spirits of the dead who may not even be aware of the fact that they are dead. They're spirits who are trying to find their way back home, which makes it extra sad when you think of that. They're just spirits trying to find their way home. So thank you so much for that email. Folks out there listening, I would love to hear questions like this from you. If you want to share some stories with me, I'd love to take the time to read them on the show and give my thoughts and comparisons to the supernatural in Japan. And you can support the show over on Buy Me a Coffee. We've got one-time donations, or you can become a member. Links are in the show notes. And that's it, folks. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and watch out for demons after dark.